Hi, my name is Marie Miao. I am the social worker at the Hoag Irvine Cancer Center, and I will also be teaching you our ORIZOME Game class today. So this class, ORIZOME is a Japanese ancient art, and ori means to fold, and zomi means zome means to dye, and gami is paper. So really, I'm teaching you techniques to fold, different ways to fold the paper, and so that we can make different patterns with our paper. This is one example, and I will go over what you should have received in the kit, which would be 3 pieces of your washi paper, and 3 dip cups, and then you would have also received 3 different colors. If you didn't have yellow in your kit, then I also added white so that you could play around with different colors, changing the colors and the tones of the colors. The ink that we used is this Liquitex. I like to use liquid ink, but you could also use food coloring, RIT dye. I would recommend the liquid version. If it's too dark, you may want to add water. But this is the one, Liquitex is the brand that we use today, and what's in your little containers. And then the paper, the washi paper, I would recommend, you could use a computer paper, but it does come out more beautifully if you do use washi paper or mulberry paper. Those are the 2 that I recommend. You can do computer paper, but you really have to be careful that it doesn't rip. You want to make sure that the paper isn't too thick. Otherwise, when you dip it in the water, it might not soak through all the way and might not soak up all the colors. And then also, if it's too thin, when you're taking apart the paper, it might be too thin and it could rip. The paper, this is something that I purchased off of Amazon, and we could add the link later so that you could buy more of the same paper. But if you do look it up, you could look up rice paper, washi paper, mulberry paper, and it should come up. Okay, and let's see, some other ways. So some ways that you could use your paper is that you could use something like this and use it as a book cover. You could also cut it up into different shapes for decoration. You could also use it for different gift wrapping. Because paper comes in all different sizes, you could do it for small gifts or bigger gifts depending on what size paper you use. Or this is something that I made with my 5-year-old daughter. So this is a little garland that we put together from the washi paper that we dyed. So this is something you can do for decoration. If you use, Christmas colors with your ink, fall colors, it's just the possibility is endless. And why I love this project is because you can do it at any age. Like I said, with my 5-year-old, she loved it and it's easy to do. So it can be an easy family activity. So we will get started. So what you want to do is have a bowl of water next to you, so you have that handy. And then next, we are going to pour the colors, the ink, into the dip cups. I like that these are Doppler, so you could put it back in. or use it to mix colors. Let's see. Ooh, it's really tight. Okay. All right. So this should be enough for our project. If you have extra ink, you could always buy more paper or try the printer paper, or if you have thinner textured paper that can soak up water, that's something you can try as well. I'm not going to use gloves today because it makes it a little bit harder to fold the paper, but if you'd like, you can use gloves. But I also do have baby wipes handy to wipe my hands. Okay, so I'm going to start with our first folding technique, which is going to be the hot dog way. So it will be the long vertical way to fold. And if you have any questions throughout the video, we do have a chat box on the side, so feel free to type in your questions. So here's step 1. And then we're going to fold it again. So it looks like this. Now we're going to fold it in triangles. So we're going to fold a triangle and then flip it over to fold another triangle. So it looks like this. And then you'll go back again to fold another triangle. And with ORIZOME, the way you fold the paper is what creates these different patterns. So there are many, many ways to fold paper, and it can get pretty intricate and fancy, such as creating hearts on your piece of paper. We're not going to get too fancy there today. I just wanted to show you more of the basic fold, origami folding, so that it's easier to learn. So you keep folding a triangle until you get to the end. You want to be as even as possible. It helps to have clean lines as well. Okay. Right, so my last fold. If you have, let's say, like a extra tab sticking out, you'll just fold it back and create a smaller triangle. So it'll look like this. Okay. And then we're going to take our next paper. This time we're going to fold it in hamburger style. So it will look like this. And then you're going to fold it again. And then you'll fold it one more time. And then we're going to do the same thing again and fold it in triangles. So this is already a little bit thick since we have more papers stacked. So you just want to be careful and try to make the triangles as evenly as possible. So we're going through the same steps again. triangles. And then you keep going, you'll turn it around and another triangle, and keep going all the way. And you want to be careful when you make the fold so that you're not ripping the paper. In Japan, this is arts and craft that you learn in elementary school. That's to show that it's an easy activity to do with kids. And these garlands and making shapes like snowflakes and putting it up on the window, that's common. And then we're going to, okay, with our last piece of paper, we are going to do hot dog again. So it would be the vertical way to fold. So here's our first fold, and then you're going to fold it again. Okay, so instead of a triangle, this time we are going to make squares. So you can choose how big or small you want the squares to be. Mine is looking a little bit more like a rectangle. But depending on how wide your square or your fold is, that will determine the width of the ink that's absorbed for each line. It'll be like a stripe. So one other option to keep your hands clean is once you have these folded, you could put a cloth pin on it so that you're just holding onto the cloth pin and dipping it in. Some people will tie it in rubber bands or even strings to keep it together. So you should have 2 triangles and 1 square or rectangle folded out. So next you're going to get your bowl of water and you're going to dip it into the water. You don't want it soaked in for too long, otherwise it will be easier for the paper to rip. But just enough so that the water soaks through all the way. So I have it in like this. Once it's soaked, you're going to press out the water. If you have too much water dripping down, it will, the colors will mix too easily. Unless that's the effect that you're going for, that's fine as well. 1. Here's 2. Okay. Yes, I will go over the hamburger fold again. Let me just take this out of the water so that it's not soaked too much. Okay. So the hamburger fold, you're going to fold the paper in half, I guess it would be horizontal. So fold that horizontal. So you have that, it's in half, and then you will fold it again, fold that again in half. And then you're going to fold it one more time. So it will look like this. It's a little thicker than when we did the hamburger fold, but you will do the same thing in terms of folding it into a triangle. Here's my first triangle, and then you will flip it over and then create the second triangle. And you'll flip it again to make another triangle. And you keep going until you fold all of the paper. It is a little thicker, so you may want to go a little bit more slowly on folding it to make sure that you don't rip the paper. Hopefully that made sense and that was enough to understand the hamburger fold, but it should look like this. It's a little bit thicker, and then I will dip it in water again. Okay. All right. So now that we have all of our papers folded and dipped in water, they're all wet, we are going to get out our colors. And depending on it's completely up to you. You can use all of the colors for every corner. You can use only one color. You can use two. If you decide to get more ink, I mean, you can, try different colors. You can mix colors if you'd like. I think that's why it's good to have the Doppler. And then you want to dip it a little bit, but you don't want to dip it too far where it's already covering up the entire piece of paper. That way you have a little bit of white to show the separation of the patterns. So I'm going to dip it in slowly to show you. I'm going to use this color for one corner. It doesn't take much for the dye or the ink to soak up in the water. So I'm going to use it for two corners. So you can see this is what I have for each corner. I use this muted pink color. And then for the top angle or corner of the triangle, I'm going to use yellow. Okay. And you can place it on the side. I'm going to use the next, this was the vertical, the hot dog fold. I'm going to use blue for one corner. So it just, I just lightly dipped it and it already soaks it up. And some people don't like any white showing, so if that's the case, feel free to dip it in more and cover the paper so that there's less white. I'm going to use yellow. Okay, and then I'm going to use the muted pink. And because the paper acts as white, you'll also notice that you can also mix colors without actually putting the ink together. It'll do it on its own on the paper. So I have blue on one corner and yellow on the other, and then in the middle it kind of creates this green. You can see it on this too, but where the yellow is, there's some green showing. So that's kind of the cool part if you know how to mix colors. Okay, so I'm going to use the square. This one, there's 4 corners, so one corner will have, or 2 corners will have the same color. Going to do this yellow, pink, yellow, and then blue. All right, and then since I have an extra, I'm just going to dip it in for fun. Let's see. Have another question coming in. Kara, the finished dipped paper, yes. So this is what I have so far. This is what it looks like dipped. So this one you can already see that the blue and the yellow mix together and it's creating that green. And then here is the rectangle. Okay. All right. Okay. So now, once you have these dipped, this is my favorite part because then you get to see your work. It's kind of the surprise, and every time it's different. There's no paper that ever comes out the same. That's the magic and fun part of it, and everybody's paper becomes unique, and if you gift wrap it, no person is receiving the same wrapping paper. I know some people just keep collections of them. They'll have like a binder of different patterns and shapes they've done and different colors. It's fun. So this was my pink and yellow. Okay, I'm going to lay it out front so you can see. If you have photos of what you complete today, I'd love to see them. Okay, this was the hot dog fold, the triangles. So you want to open it up carefully so that you don't rip the paper. I've had my fair share of trial and errors, and when the paper is really key here. If you don't have the right paper, it can rip very easily when you're opening it, or you'll find that the water didn't soak all the way through, so the pattern isn't even. You don't have symmetrical patterns. So here's my other one. It will be a little wet, although this I did before class and it's already drying. So, you know, if you have about 45 minutes or so, it should dry by then. But you do want to place it on some sort of surface. It is water-based though, so it's not too hard to clean the ink afterwards. You can also use natural dye as the ink. So, for example, the only thing with natural dye is that, you know, the beauty of it is that it fades over time. So it is possible that this is kind of cool. So this one, it's kind of, it almost looks like a mural. I don't know where, I'll put it over here. Okay. So that's sort of the beginning and intro steps to origami, ORIZOME, and then, you know, there's different folds, origami folds that you can learn online as well, but today I just wanted to show you the basic techniques. With the holidays coming up, you can, you know, this is an activity that you can do with your family, grandchildren, your kids, and you could also wrap gifts with these. That makes it unique. So hopefully this was fun for you, and we hope that you join our next month's art class, and we hope to see you there. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you.